So we're still in the early phases of planning. We're not, this is not any, this meeting is not part of any official zoning, etc. We're just out early. We are the Howard County Housing Commission, so we're not part of the county government. I'll get to this a little more in a second, but we are government. And in that role, we try to do more than what a private developer would do. So we're here just to get input now. We've spoken with your council member, we've spoken with the administration, and we're trying to get further feedback here before things go too far. But we've done some planning, so we have a little bit, some idea of what we can do, and wanted to show you that. I'm going to give the caveat once now and probably multiple times again. This is not locked in by any means, so we're still looking at what's feasible, etc. So I don't know, Beechcrest is a site we currently own, we as the Housing Authority, the Housing Commission. And we're looking to do primarily homes on these sites. All right, next slide if you could. So who's the Housing Commission? As I mentioned, we're not the county government. We're the Housing Authority for Howard County. Housing authorities are a Depression era creature set up starting in like 1937 and originally did public housing. So that was housing paid for to be built by the federal government, paid to be operated by the federal government, but was run locally by housing authorities, which were set up typically for towns or counties. In Maryland, it's mostly counties, although some towns have their own housing authorities, Rockville, College Park, etc. But we're the housing authority for the county. We were formed in 1990, long after public housing was being built. We do two things primarily. One is we run the Section 8 program now called the Housing Choice Voucher Program. So that provides a voucher for people to help pay their rent. It primarily goes to very low income people, if you want, and a numbers person, 30% of the area median or less, almost exclusively. What they can pay in rent if they took 30% of the income doesn't even cover what it costs to operate a property, much less to build it or buy it. So they really need a rent subsidy, and that's what the voucher is. We subsidize, we have funding from the federal government for about 900 to 1,000 vouchers overall. In the county, we also administer about another 600 where people who got a voucher somewhere else and have moved to Howard County. We're a very desirable place to live. So people with a voucher can go anywhere in the country, including Hawaii and St. John's and other nice places if they could find the housing. But some people move to Howard County with that voucher. So we end up running those vouchers as well. The second thing we do is essentially act like a nonprofit affordable housing developer and owner. So we currently own about 2,500 units scattered all around the county. Most of those we've acquired as existing properties. Some of those we've developed and built. We partner with developers to do that, sometimes for-profit, sometimes non-profit. And everything we do has an affordable component. In Howard County, I've done affordable housing in other places where projects and properties tend to be 100% affordable. Howard County has a strong belief in mixed income. So most of the things we have in Howard County are mixed income, where there's a range of incomes. Senior properties tend to be more 100% affordable, but it varies. I hit everything on there. We also are advocates for low and moderate income households. We know that there is a large shortage of housing for people who already live here, not to mention sort of the future and people who will be moving here or people who would like to move here for a lot of the jobs that are not necessarily high income jobs. The median new home price in the county, you may know this, is
$570,000.
Okay. So that's, somebody's building a house, that's the cost. And for many of the areas we see, it's higher than that. We know that rules out most people who are trying to buy their first home and many other people to boot. Rents are also very high. on average, so it rules out a lot of people. We're updating our market study, but the last one we did in 2024 showed about 9,000 households, not people, but households. And I'm sorry about the jargon, but we tend to talk about households, which could be an individual or it could be a family, just because it's an easier term. So 9,000 households earning 60% of the median or less. So for a family of 4, that's in the range of $80,000 or less, who are underhoused, are overcrowded, paying way too much for their housing, whatever that may be, or just homeless. So we have a shortage of 9,000 affordable units already, and that doesn't account for future growth. So we know there's a real problem today, and we're not in any way building that number of units. We also do provide services to some of our residents. That's a program we're really trying to expand. Funding for that is hard to find, so we're trying to figure out how to expand that program. But that's. I'm sorry?
What's the name of the program?
So Resident Services is just the name of the program. We formed a nonprofit, Howard Connect, to try to do some fundraising for that and add to it. But those tend to be connecting people with services already in the county, so financial counseling, summer programs, back to school programs. For the seniors, it's more socialization or financial planning. We've done a lot of senior programs on technology. We recently had something about senior scams. So that's the sort of stuff we're trying to add to enrichment and economic advancement. We have some other programs that go with the voucher side on that as well.
Peter, before you go, you mentioned 570 or 75,000 for a medium home. You have an idea how much for these places would be selling for the apartment or?
Yeah, so I'll come to that. Thank you. Good question, and helps me segue. We've got our website up there at the bottom, but just Google Howard County Housing Commission or Housing Commission, you'll find us. Next slide. I'm sorry, the picture was a project, one of our projects. It was a rebuild. Monarch Mill, not that far away. So this is our properties around the county, what we own today. These are all rental. So this is rental, multifamily. We do have some scattered site townhouses, but the vast majority of what we have, and I'm sorry, is rental. You can see it's pretty much exclusively in the eastern third of the county where there's water and sewer. Western 2/3 is pretty much off limits for multifamily, partly because of zoning and partly because there's no water and sewer. So building density out there is harder. And again, this is a mix of things. Prior to 23 and post 23 had to do with something we were trying to show other people at one point. I just am using this slide. But some of these are 1970s era walk-ups that we purchased. We started really doing the purchases in 2007 and after. And then some are new construction. Robinson Overlook was built in the early 20s, and Ellicott Gardens 2 was completed in 24.
Yes.
So that's probably the newest new construction thing we have. We are, our current project under construction is the rebuild on Toby's Dinner Theater. So the county, and we are partnering, the county is really doing the theater and the ground floor arts center. We're doing the housing on top, although it's really quite a partnership. So that's underway. If you've been by, the housing will take probably until the beginning of 2029 to be done. So it's a ways off because we're building a new Toby's, and then they're going to move over, and then we'll tear it down and build the rest of it, and then finally the housing goes on top. I'll put in a plug for Toby's. It's really fun, and they're still up and running. So if you have an opportunity to go, I would attend it while it still looks like it's 1970s original. It really is for me anyway. I like theater, musical theater. It's a great institution in Howard County. Okay, next slide. So what are our goals here? We know that there's a real shortage of housing in the county. We know there's a real shortage of housing in the state and in the region as a whole and in the country. Brooke Learman, the comptroller, put out a report talking about how the shortage of housing is business's #1 concern, and more recently, documenting a number of people who are leaving the state because they can't afford housing. So we have an out-migration of people, both actually from the county and from the state as a whole. And we're not providing new homes for people who are coming in at the lower end or want a starter place to live at all. So we're trying to help remedy that a little bit. That's our mission. We're a housing entity. So we're looking at that. We're looking to include here both home ownership and rental. We haven't done a lot of home ownership. We've done one project before, but we know that the county really needs it. We know it's a priority of our elected officials. There's a general belief that homeowners make better neighbors. I don't subscribe to that, but I know many other people do. The one downside I've run into in some places is that if you have a bad homeowner, there's really nothing you can do about it. If you have a bad renter, you can get them out. But, you know, as your neighbor, that can matter. But regardless of that issue, I'm happy to hear other comments on it. We do both. I had a note on here that we talked about whether to include because often people are afraid of Section 8 or voucher holders. But I have a note nonetheless. The lowest income people do have the most acute needs, but they're not the biggest piece of the population who has needs. They tend to be people more at the 40 to 60% of median range. So we as a housing entity are always in this issue of how to balance that. How do we serve the most acute needs? Should they come first, or is it sort of where the larger population is? And that's something we struggle with all the time. There's a lot of tension there. For the most part, this project is not targeted, well, right now it's not targeted at all at people with the lowest needs. It's targeted for people sort of above that who have more choices. But we'll come back to that. So we want to add to the community. We want this project to be additive, not something that is a community problem. Anytime you're building more housing, we hear concerns about traffic and schools, primarily. So we know those are issues out there. I don't think there's simple answers to that, and I don't think there are answers to that in the county or in the state. They just are the constant issues of the fact that household formation has outstripped housing growth. And so we have this problem of prices rising dramatically, you know, supply and demand. The supply doesn't go up, the demand does. Prices go up. These are the problems we're dealing with. I think saying we can't do more, because this is my opinion, I'm not speaking for the county at all, but because, you know, the idea of saying we can't do more because we have problems in traffic and schools is not going to get us out of that. It's just going to cause a tax base issue again that the comptroller has pointed out, and further future cycle problems that would mean rising taxes for everybody else. So I'm not saying I'm just saying these are complicated problems and I don't have all the answers. We want to eliminate blight with this project. That doesn't happen that often in Howard County. You know, generally, I spent 10 years working in Baltimore City. The blight elimination was a very different issue there. Here, it's not often we have something like this where we have abandoned properties sitting there and we can do something to help change that. So it's nice to have that here. And then we would like to at least break even financially. We do not get county operating money, and the money we get from the federal government to run the Section 8 program is not enough to actually run it. We subsidize that. So we can't really lose money on a lot of things or we're out of business. Like many other nonprofits, if there's no money in it for us, you know, you can't do your mission. So here, we hope to at least break even. I think the county is probably going to be willing to give us some help to make sure that there's good affordability here and have that happen. But all of that, most of that is still things we'll be negotiating and working on. Next slide. That's the background for all of us and what we're trying to do. Now the actual property, and this goes to the gentleman who asked about the map. So here is the map. And what we're talking about, the property in red is Beechcrest, what we call the Beechcrest site, and you all know as Beechcrest was the trailer park. We own that and have owned it for a number of years, so if there are tires there or fences falling down, that's our fault, not the county's. So we need to go out and look at that and try to make sure we get it cleaned up. We have repaired that fence on more than one occasion. But it sounds like it's got issues again, and we will take a look, and I appreciate hearing about it. The yellow site is the Hurst site, so that's owned by the county. It was an antique store. It's been abandoned now for a number of years. I do not know the history of why the county purchased it or any of the details of that. You can talk with former county people probably about most of that, but in any case, the county put it out as an RFP looking for bidders on it. We were one of the bidders and we got selected to buy it. So we have a letter agreement essentially with the county to purchase that property, though they're still the owner of it. We've been talking to them regularly about this project, so we think the administration is a believer in this project, the council person is a believer in this project, and so unless, well, things will change come November, but we think that we hope to continue to have that support as we move forward. The purple piece is the tavern, Randy's Tavern site. We now have an LOI with the owner of that site. We don't have it under contract. So there's a distinction in real estate. A letter of intent is basically non-binding, saying here's a price that we would offer. Typically it's a price they would accept. You have terms that you would all agree on, and you're usually working on a purchase and sale agreement, which is the binding contract saying that we will buy and they will sell, and here's how it will work. After we did this LOI, other issues have come up, so this is no longer as certain as I thought it was, but we're working on that and still hope to get this property. I think we will. But it's not assured. The motel label on there is America's Best Value Motel. I've lost the name of it. You were referring to it. Mr. Patel is one of the owners of it.
Yogi Patel.
We've talked to them off and on. We have a broker who's been trying to talk to them, seeing if they're interested in selling. If you look at this set of sites, it's clear that you have a better development site for everybody if you have that hotel and motel in there as well. But we can't overpay for it. We don't know that they're really interested in selling. So right now, my prognosis is that it's doubtful. We would like to have it again if we could get it for the right price, but we can't make it happen. So that's where we are with it. We're still reaching out and talking to them further. Yeah, next slide.
While you got that slide up.
Sorry, yeah.
The property right behind the purple there, that oddball hammer-shaped section, are you aware that that is a gypsy used car business going in that's there? Even though it's zoned residential?
I know that there's a single-family house there. I know that there's a fence, and if you look at it and in, there are a lot of cars there.
And there's
I'm
car
not aware of this
transports that come in and out of there regularly.
Okay.
The house is a separate property, and you'll see that on there. It's a separate, there's a house on the street on Whiskey Bottom. It's a separate property from the hammer-shaped property.
Okay.
Yeah, that's access from Whiskey Bottom. It's
Yeah.
not access from Post.
Yeah. Well,
They have no stormwater management on that car lot either, so all that runs down onto the California End property.
okay, well, that'll be a problem for us. Okay, I know there's a steep slope there.
Very steep.
Yeah. Okay, any other things we should know? We may not want to know. We should know.
Should I ask, suppose the people that own the tavern, we refer to it as tavern now, do not want to sell the place?
No, I think,
what
so
do
what
we
I
need
know
to
of
do?
this is that the gentleman, there was a developer who had that for a while.
Yeah.
He passed away recently.
Oh,
The
he
family
passed
or the
away
estate is trying to sell it.
Okay.
So-
So likely.
And there was a
we'll get
group,
it.
so to get to what you were asking earlier, was there was a group, Caves Valley, which is a Baltimore County-based developer that also works in the area generally. At one point was negotiating with them on it, but they're not today, is my
Okay,
understanding.
so you think you would acquire that property?
That's our plan, and like I said, we have a letter of intent with the owner to do that.
Now, how long would all this take for us to see the light?
So we'll come back to the schedule. Thank you. I get these leading questions. You're very welcome to help us move along. Next slide. So this is just an aerial, and we're showing, this is the base slide because the things that we're looking at are gonna just appear on top of this as we go through the next slides. We've got AMT is a civil engineer and Townscape Design is an architect. That's who we're working with on this to just plan it. What a developer does at this stage is tries to figure out typically what's the maximum number of units you can get on the site. It doesn't mean that's what you're gonna build, but that's where you start. And then you cut it back for this or cut it back for that. But what is the maximum you could get? What would that look like? So we started to do that. The zoning and the plan for this, for us, the Route 1 corridor plan, and Paul, I should have done introductions. I'm sorry. Let me stop for just a minute. I'm the executive director of the Housing Commission. Sam Paul, say.
I'm the Director of Administration of the Housing Commission.
And also works on development issues for us, so. And Paul Ravel is our consultant.
Land development consultant, helping the commission get through the whole process, because there are many parts of the process with the government, and Route 1 is a tricky place to do business.
And we have to go through the same hurdles that every other developer does. We don't get some break from the county, we have to go through the whole planning process. So if you're interested and would like, as this goes forward, you have multiple opportunities to come out and either applaud or harangue us.
Excuse me, Peter. Before further, please sign in so we have your email and phone number. And when you do sign in, please make it legible that I can read it so I could compile an email list to keep you informed and for you to come to all the meetings to help in the process to make this project.
Thank you,
For
we would
us.
appreciate that as
Yeah,
well.
so please sign in before you go or in between.
So the general plan of what we were looking at is on the Beechcrest site, homeownership, and probably that, what we're currently looking at is 2/2s, so they're more like condos, but they look like townhouses. But they're 4 floors, 1 unit on the bottom 2 floors, 1 unit on the top 2 floors, garage park, though there is some street parking, but everybody has a garage or 1-car garage, typically how these look. These are sort of becoming more popular around the county. There's one off of 108 Overlook, I've lost the name of it.
Dorsey Overlook.
Dorsey Overlook, right at, just east of 29 off of 108, kind of back behind the village center there. There are others. I think Paddock Point is building 2/2s sort of across the street from this. So it's a more affordable way to get somebody into homeownership. So it's a smaller unit, it can make things cheaper. And then on the front of the site, because the Route 1 corridor plan does not call for ownership along Route 1, we're looking at apartments. Don't really know how many yet, but that's sort of the general concept of where we're going. And then if it can work out, you'll see it, and we can make this happen. We would like to put some sort of pad amenity, retail, commercial on the corner of Whiskey Bottom. I think it goes to your point, or was it talking about a gateway, or was talking about a gateway there? I don't think it's a Silver Diner size site, but I'm not sure. So we're still working on the planning there. Yeah.
I'm guessing that whatever's happening with Laurel Park, because there were gonna be new units on that intersection as well, it's gonna have an impact on what you do, even though it's different jurisdiction.
I don't think the plant is going away anytime soon. So I'm not sure on the south side of Whiskey Bottom what's happening. I don't have any idea what plans are.
They were going to put townhomes.
That's in Anne Arundel County.
Yeah.
Correct.
And they're building,
Correct.
they're certainly building a
But-
lot a little farther in. There are a lot of residential going in on their land. All right, so moving on. Next. So this is sort of the piece of land as the planners kind of just block it out. The green is sort of what we're anticipating as being open space, undeveloped. There's kind of woods on the back of the Beechcrest site, which we probably can't do anything in anyway. There's stormwater drainage through there and a lot of trees, so we're largely, hopefully keeping that more or less as is. Next. So this is one concept of what the 2/2s might look like. I'll just, because I'm trying to keep everybody as calm as possible, I'll note that these look tall compared to everything else, because you can't really see the height of other things. But it is true that it's kind of up on a hill. So you would probably see this from Route 1 behind the motel, which you can sort of see in front of this. But you know, I know to me it looks like, oh, that's big.
The houses are only 2 stories right next to it.
Yeah, so it will be a little higher. It will definitely be higher than that. It'll be above. It'll be bigger than that. It's about 55 units. I think our max here was 60. So I think when we squeezed it all, the most we could get was 60 units, which is 30 buildings with 2 units per building. Yes, sir.
Can you point on that map where the hotel is? Unless you got some kind of like.
This is, that's the hotel. And this is Route 1.
So you would,
So how do people would get in and get out of that complex? The
You
road.
asked me all the perfect future questions. We'll get there in just a moment. I'm sorry. So the question is, how are people going to get in and out? I will talk about that in a second. Other questions on? Yes, sir.
The white line that goes from your development onto Kings Post Court, what is that?
Okay, so what we're looking at is connectivity. So ideally, we would have a road here that would have an entrance to Country Meadows. Thank you. I kept thinking Summer Meadows. I knew that wasn't right. We've talked with them about that. They're not really keen on it. But it's possible we could have an emergency thing through there for fire. We don't know. So we're talking with them about that possibility. We think it would provide more access for people in different directions. So that could be helpful for both them and for us. But again, just being talked about right now. The white lines we were looking at were paths. So we were looking for people to have walking access to different parts of things. Partly, I think the path up to here would be to allow people then to walk on through and get here and other places. But,
If Country Meadows doesn't want it, I don't think Kings Post Court wants it either.
okay, well, happy to get the feedback. That's why we're here. Yes, ma'am.
The 60 units, is that intended to be for person occupied units or?
Well, a 2/2 design typically has 3 bedrooms. So it wouldn't have to be, but, you know, and whoever's buying whatever they want for 3 bedrooms. So you'll get all sorts of different folks in there.
And that lower unit is smaller.
Yeah, the lower unit, because it has the garage is next to, you know, on the bottom floor, is smaller.
Like maybe 2 bedrooms below, and then upstairs.
Yeah, it could be, I've seen both of these as 2s and 3s.
And you said there was a single parking garage, is that for the?
Each unit would have a 1-car garage. And then there's a parking space behind the garage.
So there's 2 garages?
2 garages for each unit, yeah. So it should park itself. In developer terms, you're always worrying about parking and, you know, does it park? We've turned it into a verb that way. So, and, you know, a 2/2 is usually designed to park itself. And so that's what we would be looking at. Pricing on these, this would be mixed income. So some of these would be market rate, some of these would be more affordable. Typically for us trying to do affordable home ownership, we're looking at 80 to 120% of the median. That's often called missing middle housing. There isn't a lot of new ownership stock or even existing stock in that level. If you go on Zillow or Redfin and look for housing in Howard County that's under $400,000, you find almost nothing. So this would try to be priced in that range. If you think about the county median is currently the county, not the area. We technically end up using both of those at different times and they're different. The county median is higher than the area, which includes Baltimore City. We're part of the Baltimore metro area. So obviously the highest income there. Anyway, that median in the county is 140,000, I think, at this point. So, 80% of that is 80,000 and 32,000, 112,000 plus. Now 120% of that is gonna be 160-ish or something. So if you typically, what you can afford is 3 times your income, and as a total rule of thumb, you're looking at 350 to 450,000 maybe for that affordable range, right? We didn't used to think of this as affordable, but this is what it is today. And then there would be, maybe we can do a tranche that's a little higher, and then maybe, and then a good chunk at market rate. Got a question back there, let me come to you. Yeah?
So a quick question, just thinking about this and thinking out loud, I don't have more questions.
Louder,
So, can you guys hear me? Okay. So as far as this layout, what is the projected aiming that you guys are gonna be finishing? Is it gonna be, reach out like 2027, 2028?
So timing on this, thank you. The question was, when might this happen, right? Is that?
Yes.
Okay. So Paul gave us an estimate, just the planning, getting through the planning process in Howard County is slow compared to other jurisdictions, mostly. So it could take us 3 to 4 years to get the planning.
Oh, no.
And then you have to build. And that's the county, that's not us. If we could speed that up, we would. I actually think, those time periods are what they are because generally people who live here already don't like new housing. And so there's a lot of process to limit it. But that's sort of the plan, and then it would be after that.
Yeah, I have a follow-up question, sorry. If, say, skipping 3 to 4 years, will this be something, I think I stand up and talk.
Thank you.
So would it be more of like, if you do decide to bring this up, how would you keep it up where, it's looking neat and it's not tearing down? If people have HOA fees, would it be something, and how would that balance into the fact that you're fixing people that is a mixed income?
Right.
So, are they gonna fit the bill? Then on top of that, another question is property tax.
Right. So I think maintaining home ownership, years ago I was working on some co-ops. Co-op is sort of like a condo, but you have a license, you don't really own your unit. And there were a bunch of affordable co-ops which had been done as a 1960s, 70s model for affordable housing. And some of those had real problems taxing themselves enough in fees to maintain the property. And so that is an issue here. How do we make sure that the cost to do whatever has to get done, whether it's snow or landscaping, and the rest of it can be handled by the folks who live there. And that's us making sure that as we structure the prices to people, the number of people at market, et cetera, that we can get that to work. So it's something we have to think about as we do the pricing and set it up. Because 50 to 60 is not that many units. So you need to make sure that it's enough to be able to support itself. Yes, sir.
So I was on the APFO committee with Paul there, and you've testified on that many times. You're an expert. There's a certain amount of market rate. There's a certain amount of affordable units in there. How much are each going to contribute towards school surcharge fees, or are any, because it's considered an entire complex that is exempt?
I mean, it's under whatever the AFO rules are. Honestly, I haven't even begun to look at the fees on this yet. But the county will interpret what fees get charged, not us, and charge us accordingly. So I don't know what those will be at this time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I was just curious, I know you've talked about that you're already gonna need to think about schooling, because that's always the issue that comes up. And I know this is very early stages, but at that $300,000, $400,000 rate and at 2 and 3 bedroom homes, I'm assuming that this would be fairly well occupied with people with children. And so would you also work into it amenities to help those children be able to play in that area? Or would you be relying on that they're gonna try to come here to the North Laurel?
Well, I think it's both, really. You'd want to have connectivity so people could get here and use the facilities. At the same time, this is why, again, why you sort of look at the max plan. But because we're the government and because we tend to be more open, and because you can call your elected officials who then immediately call us, and we do partner with the county a lot, so it matters. We tend to be more responsive, and we tend to try to do the right thing more than a private developer. So we need to figure out how to reduce the number of units overall so there's site amenities as well.
Great.
So I don't know what those are yet or where they would be, but I would envision a playground of
Great.
some sort. And certainly amenities for the population that lives here is important. Again, because we're in this for the long term. We've never sold a property that we have housing on. So, our goal is to be there and be around and to allow people who live take advantage of the housing, whether it's a market rate or an affordable unit, to grow with Howard County, to take the benefits of Howard County. There's a lot of data, that shows that basically poor people who move to a rich area do better. And more importantly, those families, the parents don't have a higher net income generally. They make more, but their costs go up. The real data about this is that their kids go farther in school and their kids make more money. So one of the only ways we know of that really works to change the trajectory of people's lives is putting them into richer areas. Why that is exactly, nobody's sure yet, though there's some ongoing work on that. But we have very little economic mobility in this country. This is one of the few ways, we think we do, but we're less economically mobile than Europe now. But this is something that actually works. So we get folks here who need the housing. I think our goal is to help those kids and those families do well. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm stretching.
I got another question. So how do you guys go to the Howard County hearing to introduce this project? Like, do you guys go like every 3 months, 6 months? There's a hearing where it's like, you have the developers, we're talking with their engineers, and they're actually looking at the zone to see exactly like, well, where are you gonna put this at? Or where are you gonna put this? And then you might need to do this and make this change here. So when will you guys be doing that actually?
Yeah, we need to sort of finalize the land. So are we buying the motel? Are we buying Randy's? We need to then finalize our plan. What do we want to have on this and get that drawn? And then we start submitting to the county for the formal process. So I would hope that is this summer or early fall.
Will you notify the people here when?
Yeah, we can. We'll try to stay in touch. Because again, we're not going to do just the minimum that's required. We're here now because of that, and we'll be around. So if a few months in, somebody wants to have another meeting, we can come back out. Our offices are nearby, or you can always reach out to us.
I'll take the information from the sign-in sheet, and I'll compile the email. Please be legible so I could read it, and compile the email list and circulate it to you people whenever we have a meeting, because we need you people to help make this project successful. While I'm at it, I should ask you if you're gonna put fire protection wall between these units and some proof floor. Not when me and my husband fight it. The neighbors are hearing and I'm beating up my children. They're disturbing the neighbor middle of the night, because some proof floor for people living below is very important, noise at night.
Yeah.
And fire protection
right.
wall.
Well, certainly the fire protection will be what we're required to do.
The walls.
And then, that's got a lot of code requirements on it, and we'll follow that, obviously.
Okay.
And then the noise issue is something we'll have to.
Some proof floor.
Yeah, we'll think about that.
Some proof
Because it
floor.
does matter when you have families on
Yes.
top. I'll just say real quick for that. I am relying on citizen apathy, however, so, we know you're out here, and eventually you'll get bored and forget all about it, so you won't come out again. Thank you for coming down. I do hope people stay involved, because we're looking for input. We're not gonna make everybody happy. It's just never gonna happen, but we can at least communicate and be open about it.
Okay, on the left side where the green section is, right now there's a 10-foot high wooden fence there. Is there gonna be some type of barrier between the edge of the property to Route 1 back to where the proposed path is. So we already lived through that with the trailer park and the fence. They would just break the boards so they could scoot on in. I'm in that corner. I got both of them. So.
Okay, well, I hadn't planned that yet. You know, you tend in Howard County not to have a lot of fences. In Columbia, you have to get permission to build a fence. I know we're not Columbia here. But if that's something the community is after, then the community should get together and tell us, and we'll look at it.
And then the pathway to King's Post, I'm thinking
I can't hear you.
the pathway to
Chieftain?
King's Post, I'm thinking we're not gonna like that at all. I understand a
I'm not gonna like
pathway,
it.
yeah, that
Yeah,
goes by his
that's my
house.
house.
A pathway to, whatever commercial, entity you have, that makes perfect sense. But, you know, they can drive here just like we do. Please. We don't want the pathway.
Okay.
We don't want the pathway.
Well, like I said, A, it's not fully planned at all yet. This is why we're here. We're getting
I know.
feedback. And B, I know we won't make everybody happy. So,
Right.
but we're also not trying to disturb people.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Is it assumed that there are gonna be sidewalks on Route 1, which there aren't now?
So that, I know that the county, you may know this better, and people who work on Route 1, that there's a plan to put a path all along Route 1. And we would participate in that. We'd be happy to be included in that if we own that section. Because again, it just helps people get around either on bike or walking. And so, yes, I mean, our goal would be to make sure that there's some way to get.
Okay, I just want to say, it really looks good. And I love the idea of the mixed-use housing because I know affordable housing is definitely necessary. I just don't want the path. But
All
I
right,
think
we're
it-
done here. She said it looks good. Thank you for coming.
No path.
No, okay. All
But
right.
it-
And you haven't seen the rental yet, so hold the praise.
Yeah, I'm gonna go look at-
But I do appreciate it.
I'm gonna go look at Dorsey Overlook, but the
Yeah.
idea is amazing. It's amazing. And it does, it looks good.
The other one you might want to look at is go north on Route 1 to Port Capitol Drive. Take a left on Port Capitol, it's right after 175.
Oh, okay.
So the next light down would be at Port Capitol, take a left.
Uh-huh.
And on the right, you'll see a small, maybe 50 units of 2/2s that are gonna look much more like this scale, this height. That's probably the best example out there.
Okay, cool. So you're doing good work. You are. You're doing good work.
Susan is
Were you, did you have a?
I was
the
just,
name of the
we
developer.
want to get this with my mind. How's the egress in?
Yeah, I'll show the whole plan, and then we can talk about that, because it's clearly an issue.
Do you have anything to do with Route 1, or is that?
We own Route 1, most people don't know that.
Oh, good. Have your card?
We're gonna have to deal with Route 1, so, yeah, it's gonna be tough. Yes, ma'am?
Oh, I know you said you were working with Country Meadows about getting the traffic from those units out, which is already a nightmare at that light on Route 1. And when there's rush hour, it is a disaster. So are you also thinking, and I know this is in the works, but are you thinking of trying to get them, if everything goes your way, to come out through Country Meadows and go to that light, or to have them also try to come out onto Whiskey Bottom, or?
Right, I mean, it
because
could
Route
be
1 is a
both,
nightmare.
right? If you have a road that goes through, ultimately you'll see how this connects up to Whiskey Bottom, then it could be people could go both ways, and it might save time. I don't know.
I
We
mean,
gotta
if
do a
Whiskey
lot
Bottom
more
is
traffic.
One lane each
Yeah.
direction. It would be a nightmare to dump people out onto Whiskey
Yeah.
Bottom. And coming out of country, I don't know. I
Right.
don't know what you can do about that, but
Right.
it's gonna be a nightmare.
It's
With traffic.
a real potential problem.
And right now, people walk on this tiny bit of verge.
I'm sorry that,
And have to step out into Route 1 sometimes.
yeah, well, that's a reason why, again, to have a path or a sidewalk all along.
And there is a sidewalk on the other side of Whiskey Bottom, but people still go on the Randy
Yeah.
side, which is.
Yeah, I've walked along there, I know, it's not pedestrian friendly.
Traffic flow.
Yes, ma'am?
Couple of comments and questions. I'm sorry, they won't necessarily be in a particular order.
Oh, no.
When you were talking about, you gave the example like in Baltimore developments, the studies that show that children who have the opportunity to grow up in a higher income neighborhood do better. Unfortunately, I'm immediately reminded of something I've used in testimony many times, because a study came out at some point where Howard County, the southeastern part of Howard County, no longer qualified as a place where people seeking to move out of the city could come under that principle, because things weren't going so well here. Okay, so it concerns me that as much as we may need affordable housing, maybe this isn't an appropriate location. And part of my thought on that is, I don't know about the rest of you, but I never heard a word from the council member for District 3 about any of this being in the works. So it's come as quite a surprise. And if the
council member is back there.
Hi. And it was also in my newsletter, so we really wanted to make sure that people were coming out today.
But this is new, right? You didn't hear from her because we just talked to her a couple weeks
To
ago.
get in front of you and in front of eyeballs to make sure folks know about it.
Well, it would have been nice to have known before things had gotten this far, frankly, because the community had been promised previously that we would not have residential development here, that we would instead have commercial establishments. And we must have been polled 10 times, what would you like to see go there? So some of us have not yet flipped the page on this. But my other concern, because this is clearly going to be promoted as we need to do this because we need affordable housing, yet you're showing 60 units, 30% of which will be in the more affordable range for people who are making less than, what was the percentage?
We're looking at 80 to 120% of the area median, the county median.
So the people who are low income or even moderate income, there's only going to be 30% of 60 units. By my math, that's 18 maybe. So all of this is to produce 18 units.
Well, no, that sounds like a rhetorical question, but I'll give you the unrhetorical answer, which is that this is the home ownership piece. We're also looking at a rental piece, which we'll show in a moment, which would be more units. But it's true, we can't get, it's not that big a site. There isn't that much we can do here. But if this were to be a private developer, none of it would be affordable, and all of it would be at a much higher price. So we're doing what we can. I will say the 30% is, I think what we were saying was the minimum number, or 20%, 30% was the minimum. If I can make the numbers work, we'll do 50% affordable on this. So it's still not a huge number of units. I understand that, but it's better than what we have. And if, I'm a believer in doing that. It's not going to solve our problems, but it'll add to the solutions.
Well, I guess I would question, are there better locations elsewhere? And particularly related to the Route 1 corridor. It sounds like we're suddenly being asked to forget about Route 1's history as the employment center. We're now going to have housing for people who may not have employment because we're taking a lot of what was traditionally industrial, business, etc. And that's much more than what you're responsible for here. But nevertheless, I think it's good to look at the big picture. Is it wise to to convert from industrial business job-centered land use, which produces a much higher rate of tax income with fewer demands on the roads, the schools, the emergency room, etc. I just don't want us to get, this is gonna fix the world, when we might be making it much worse for the county. As a citizen who has lived here along the corridor for 36 years now, I feel like I have whiplash, because not that long ago, I was sitting in a meeting hearing about the Trade Point Atlantic monstrous warehouse development going in at US 1 and Gorman. We're wondering how anybody's going to get out when the tractor trailers start riding back and forth 4 trips a day to Baltimore City. So I just would hope that there's some real consideration of how does this project affect Route 1? And I know we're always told, we need to provide housing for our teachers, our police, our fire personnel. But is a home overlooking the ice cream plant or whatever, is that what they aspire to?
I think most people aspire to a home, and we're talking about people who don't have that.
And
in terms of location, let me just respond to some of that. We're looking at a similar project off of Waterloo Road right now. We'll do it wherever we can do it. And I think for pretty much every project I've proposed in the county, people have said it's a great idea, we like the housing, it's just not good here. And it doesn't really matter where here is, it's just not good here. And there's always reasons for that. Oh, there are already a lot of people here, and services are already here, but we already have the poor people here. Or there aren't poor people here, so there are no services here, so you shouldn't put it here. Or the transportation isn't good, or something. And so I think that's why we're in the problem we're in, because we just say no all the time. And there's the traffic. I understand there's a traffic issue, there's a school issue, that's true all over the county. And every neighborhood we go in is gonna say that. And so then you don't get housing anywhere. So in my view, and you can hold a different view, and you can lobby your elected representatives and everybody else, and say, well, we don't think it's worth it, we don't think this is right. In my view, I think we need to do it. And I think we need to do it for the tax base and for other reasons. I'm sorry, just one last point. This site we're looking at was never, or at least hasn't been commercial in anybody's memory. It was, you've got a inn and a small antique store and a trailer park, which was already residential. So I don't think we're displacing a whole lot of jobs here. And I also think that if this were gonna be commercial, how long do you wanna wait for that? Because it hasn't happened in years, and my own belief is it's not happening.
I could help you with that one. I did had a meeting on about the Randy's property in that area, and every time the meeting was a gas station. Gas station is not for that area, because the people living around there will be smelling gas all night and day, 24 hours. So I have rejected that proposal about gas station there, and I haven't got any idea or any other business that contact us about a nice business there, maybe a medical building with a drugstore or something like that would be useful to the community. At the same time, ZRA 222, I think, about the McDonald's property, and the car dealer property. I had to send a letter to and tell Mandy Hinkle from Solwyn, get going, nice try, because she's setting that up to, again, for a gas station. What, we gonna become gas station alley?
No, nobody wants the gas stations.
Well, that's
okay?
how we get it.
I
Next
find
slide.
economically, I'll hurry, I promise.
Yeah.
Economically, it seems to not make sense that we have to drive into Prince George's County to have a choice of restaurants, or else we have to go to Columbia. There's no here, and this will never help that.
Sir, I appreciate that there's so much passion behind this and that people want to talk about the debate, but it's very hard to be able to participate fully without having a complete sense of the framing. And so if we could, at this point,
Yes,
since it's
we will.
almost 8 o'clock, get all the way through the framing so that then there's better
Sure.
ability to give input.
Thank you, I appreciate that. All right, next slide. All right, so this was again sort of the max rental thing on the front of the site on Route 1. And it has this retail commercial here, which from looking at it, the size and what might go there, it's probably a coffee shop or something along those lines. We have been talking to a daycare provider who might be interested in that site, but it's going to be hard. I think we could get them the space, but I don't know that they're able to do it. But we'll keep that line of communication open. If there are other viable uses here, we're happy to hear them and explore them. We talked to a commercial broker a bit to try to get some ideas. This is not our area of expertise. So we're trying to learn about what could be best there. That's sort of what we're hearing. Ultimately, those two buildings are probably one building and smaller. One building is bigger than each building there, but smaller total. So that we can fit in more amenities, you can figure out how to do the parking. Again, there are all of these issues that come through here. On the connectivity and the traffic. So you can see here that there's a road that runs all along the back of the site and comes out to Whiskey Bottom. We do have access as well here on Ruth Avenue that comes out onto Route 1, which would be a right in, right out only for sure. This is all stuff we need to get a study on. We need to do traffic studies. We haven't done that yet. Again, we're here early, so I don't have answers. I have questions to some degree. And then we have to talk with the county, and Route 1 is the state, right?
Yes.
So we're gonna have to talk with the state. Thank God there's not an interstate. And there's gonna be, I'm sure, a lot of engineering looks at this, and a lot of discussion and planning to go around that. But we clearly need more than one entrance here to do all of this, and so we're kind of planning for both. Again, I understand that the traffic and getting in and out, particularly at rush hour, is going to be an issue.
Peter, can I throw something?
Yes, I'm sorry.
As a baseline, we expect we're going to have to do improvements and dedications, that is, give land to the State Highway Administration along the Route 1 frontage, so that there could be a turn lane, a dedicated turn lane on the westbound side of Route 1 southbound, so that you can turn and then turn into Whiskey Bottom Road. So we expect that. We also expect the same sort of thing, frontage improvements, widening on the Whiskey Bottom Road site. So that would be a good 300 or 400 feet of improvements, maybe more, depends on how the regulators see it. So I think there'll be some intersection improvements there. Whether that's enough to support the plan, we don't know. But we expect to have to go in that direction as far as we can.
Will you ask the state to do an infrastructure study? So, because if the state is responsible for Route 1, they need to widen that sucker in order to accommodate all of this.
Asking that would the state do an infrastructure study on here to sort of make sure that the lights work, etc. I think we probably have to do that,
Yeah,
right?
we have to do that.
And then give it to them.
Give them the land, and we have to build that lane for them.
So we're gonna have to do those studies.
Okay, so the studies will be done.
Yes, sir.
Another question was, if you do get the hotel, will there be an egress and entrance there?
So if we got the hotel, there is this one on Ruth Avenue here that's already there, but sort of between Hurst and the hotel that goes back to Beechcrest.
Pretty narrow.
So we would probably look to widen that. If we got the hotel, all of that would be easier.
Okay.
So these are, yeah, so, I mean, you're thinking of all the things we're thinking of as to how to make this better.
But the state has a vote on how many intersections we get and where they're located and all of that.
Yeah.
So we're a
I'm
long
sorry,
way away from solving.
let's just zip through this and then do more questions. I'm trying to remember what's next. Okay, yeah, these were just sort of my caveats. The plan is a work in progress. We're committed to providing at least 20% of the homeownership units to missing middle, but we'd like to get to 50%. The rental homes are generally families earning under 60% of median. And we would try to layer that also, so that it wasn't all at 60%, but some at 50, some at 40, try to get to some lower incomes. There's a lot of financial, economic calculations that go into what you can afford, and will depend on the funding you get. Talked about homeownership and things, Route 1 plan, currently estimating 120 to 200 rental homes. I don't think we're gonna get to 200, frankly. I think 120 is probably the sweet spot to that, but again, I didn't want to mislead anybody, and if it ends up being more than 120, I didn't want you coming back to me and saying, you told me X. So I'm kind of giving worst case for people who are worried about density here, numbers. Tavern property not yet fully locked. Pad retail amenity space, that's on the corner there. Exploring, we're still looking at feasibility. We'd love to do it because we know the community would like it. We think it would be a good thing generally, and we're trying to figure that out. Final number of units, design, prices, and more have not yet been set, 3 exclamation points. I told you it wasn't just going to be my first warning about that.
And we don't have a name. We need a name. We are
Right.
stuck. We're calling it Beechcrest right now.
I had a project once in Wheaton that somebody nominated Cream of Wheaton for, my favorite name ever. We didn't name it that, but if you have good ideas for this, yeah.
We are
You can do
desperate.
something with ice cream.
How many floors is the?
Oh, sure, sir.
So the apartments would depend.
The sweet spot, there you go, the sweet spot.
Typically for apartments like that, the max you could do is a podium of some parking and then 5 floors on top of that. That keeps it in wood frame. The reason this ends up being is that if you get out of wood frame construction, it becomes completely unaffordable. So that's kind of the max. Often you have issues with how high it goes also. So depending on how high that would be, it might be less depending on how many units. So I'm guessing 4 to 5.
Could you put these slides on your website? And I would
Yeah.
suggest a bigger caveat on the very front page saying that this is an early concept and
Yeah.
has not gone into a design or et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, we can set up on our website, we could set up a page for Beechcrest.
Right.
And have a section for, all right, I'm not gonna do a section for feedback, so I know, it's like any other web feedback, you don't actually know. We could have a feedback thing, or we can put this up there, and as other developments happen, we can add that to the page.
Peter, would you put up on the website too when we will have future meetings? So, you know.
When we have them, I mean,
Yes.
if you guys wanna have a schedule, if we wanted to schedule something 4 months out or something, I'm happy to schedule it now,
Like
and
we
as we
know-
got close, we could decide
Yes,
whether
so
we
the
wanna
people-
have it or
so
not.
the people- So you could
Well, we
get
could do
feedback
that.
from these people.
Yeah.
So they be part of it from beginning, so they don't get confused or, antsy about situation. They know what's coming, so they could prepare for it. So I'll ask that the meeting be published there. And so to please check next door, because I normally put notice for meeting at next
Just one.
I'll just say again, we are pretty responsive, so you can reach us. Feedback is fine, however you want to do it. Again, I'm relying on your apathy so you don't overwhelm. No. Do provide feedback. We are actively looking for it, so it'll help make this better. And I think that's it, for
Okay,
our presentation.
This gentleman has a question at the back, in the room.
Why are you guys restraining now? Because
You've already started demolition work, is that correct?
I'm sorry, that what?
You already started demolition work, is that correct?
So the county, which owns Hurst, has demolished the building on that, just to get rid of it and, you know, eliminate the blight. I don't know, we have Kelly Simino from DHCD here in back, probably didn't want to be identified, but the county just decided to do that because we've got something going and this might happen, but it doesn't add to the development. If we do get Randy's, I will tell you, we will demolish that before we're ready to go. We'll put the money in and front that and find a way to get that down. So I'm sorry, the problem is,
2 or 3 years ago, I think it was, Howard County came in here and they decided that they were gonna put a homeless over there. Not telling anybody, but they got caught. We had a meeting with it, because the lady up here was heading it up, and we stopped it. Now we come here, we've already started demolition work, which probably means you're gonna get the job anyhow. And, you know, you've already started.
we haven't already started.
And,
As I told you, we're totally planning.
What's gonna happen is you're gonna build those homes back there. Our county's gonna come in and do an assessment. And when they assess it, they're gonna assess all the other homes that are in the area, raise the taxes. But when people get ready to sell their homes, guess what's gonna happen? The price of homes are gonna go down.
Why would the price go down?
When the government gets involved in building subsidized homes. That's basically what they're doing.
Well, I can tell you factually, it's not true that most affordable housing, even rental, lowers the prices around the area. It's just not. There's been studies on this. It's not the case. I don't know why eliminating this blight and creating a neighborhood would cause home prices to go down, but I guess anything's possible. I'm not going to predict the future. But I don't think that's the history of home prices in Howard County. So I don't think that's going to happen. I hear the skepticism. I acknowledge the skepticism. You know, there are sometimes good reasons for that with government. We're here because we're doing the planning now and we want input now. It doesn't mean what we hear is we're gonna change everything because of what we hear, but we can change things now before it's too far along. And so if you want to tell us, we'll take it into account.
That's my other question. How do you oppose this?
How do you oppose this? Tell your elected officials.
Call a councilman?
Yeah, call your council person, call your congressperson, call the county executive, lobby the people who are running now, you know, whatever you want to do to oppose it. You can always call me and oppose it. You know, or offer constructive advice, better yet, but you know, we're open to getting the feedback, that's why.
I didn't want to go through what I went through the 3rd of January 2013 because that was a hoorah of a meeting. And before that, that is when I saw this, I can't remember where I saw a picture and I saw something to this and I called up and I started to investigate what's going on. I did call up, contact planning and zoning. Planning and zoning put me on to Peter, and then from Peter to Sammy, and that's how this meeting started. They asked us for a meeting, and I welcomed the meeting because I want to know, and I want to get the community involved from now, so they could have input and output, because I'm not going to make a decision. The energy I get is from the community. That's where I get my energy and get the feedback from. To do whatever. I don't do it on my own. So that's how this meeting came about. And I guess there may be future meetings, and like I asked, sign in please, make it legible, so I could compile a list. Check on Nextdoor. Nextdoor is a good source of community information, and a lot of conversation could generate from there, and it could reach the ears of the county officials, because the county would be dealing with this, the elected officials and other people partnership. So that's how we could straighten the business. So it's either we live with the derelict there, or we improve it, or get some business there, not a gas station to smell gas when the neighbors are sleeping up the windows, gas. or any business that would affect the neighborhood, something that they would welcome and they could benefit from. As what I could observe from Route 1, the trend of development, it goes like Queens Boulevard, New York, where it has business and commercial, residential, commercial, mixed use. So some of the people there could work at some of the business, and I'm hoping by where the McDonald's is on that medium, that it develop into strictly business, so people could work there. That's what we can hope for, because this blighted area seems to go nowhere. Is there any other question? All right. First of all, I should say thank you for coming out to the meeting. And it was informative to me and for me to clear up some doubts. Thank you, Peter, for asking us to come.
Thank you for hosting.
And thank you, Paul, and thank you, Paul, to come out. Thank you, Christiana, to come out, and representative from the prospective company executive who are here. Thank you. I haven't seen any reporter here. Is any reporter in here? Oh, may I ask from where?
It's a good presentation.
Oh, thank you for coming out too, because I did say, are you a reporter? Anybody else? I did invite a few, and they did publish, they know about this meeting, so it's their choice. With that, please grab some water if you need. I forgot to mention the water is here. And I look forward to see you at the next meeting. Keep up with next door. I'll publish the meeting as much as I can in any publication.
And we'll stick around if there are questions.